What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Marshall Time, episode 38. Two bros back together. What's going on, bro?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Man, I'm ready. Game one, the finals. We finally here. It's been a long season, long playoff run, but we got some ball again on Thursday. Game one in Boston between the Mavericks and the Celtics. A lot of storylines between these two teams in this series. Like it's a lot of things that a lot of angles that we can take it, and we'll tackle a few of them. First up, just what's the biggest story that you're looking forward to when it comes to this series between the Celtics and Mavericks?
I think for me, it's definitely going to be Luca's first finals.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's become a theme for players. Like we see players go through the cycle. They're young. They show they impress the league. They come out and kill. Then they have to get over their hump. We saw Luca early. He gave the Clippers. He gave them a run for their money. We
Mm-hmm.
saw early on that he had to really go through a lot. You know what I mean? And they had some changes, and I give a lot of credit to the Mavericks too because we know they went and got Kyrie, and last year they didn't they didn't even make the playoffs last year, right? Didn't they miss it?
Let me double check that.
I'm pretty sure they missed it last year, and or if they did make it, they
Maybe
were
they were
like,
a playing team, maybe.
yeah, I don't think they made the actual playoffs last year.
Double check. Um, First round. Nah, they didn't.
All right, so they didn't even make the playoffs last year, and a lot of the discourse was, "Oh, Luca and Kyrie probably won't work," um, but they found a way to just make the right moves, get them back into the finals. And Luca's been killer. He's been a killer all playoffs. So now he's here. This is his moment. Um, I just want to see how he performs because we've seen players get to the finals and not play their best. You know what I mean? But I feel like Luca, he's just different. He'll play good, win or lose. I feel like he'll play good. So that's the biggest storyline I'm looking at, and definitely Kyrie. Going back to Boston, we know he had a short stint there, and he left a bad taste in the Boston fans' mouth. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the storyline I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the Celtics and this journey they've been on since the Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown era, right? Jalen Brown was picked up, and then Tatum the following year, back to back drafts. And I know Jalen has been a part of six. He's made the Eastern Conference Finals 6 times in the last 8 years. Tatum was a part of 5 of those runs. They made the finals, of course, a couple years ago, losing to the Warriors. And you mentioned those steps that these stars and these teams have to take. They've taken the steps. Like they've been. It sounds crazy to think about it, but they've been through these wars and these battles in the Eastern Conference throughout the years. They're still so young, but they started at such a young age. Tatum and Brown, they've played against Bron in the Eastern Conference, right? And they've gone through these battles. They've played against Steph and Clay and Dre and the Warriors. Like they've gone up against Hall of Famers in intense moments and big moments. And enough is not talked about how they've had to go through 3 different head coaches: Brad Stevens, Ime Udoka, and now Joe Mazzulla, who was just put in that position out of nowhere during training camp last year, right? And so he's a young coach. And so to be able to have that consistency, no, they haven't won the championship yet, but that consistency of success and performance through 3 different head coaches is impressive. And now entering this season, it was like, yo, okay, you lost to Miami last year. You shouldn't have lost. That was a disappointment. How do you respond to that? Joe Mazzulla, you're in year 2 as a head coach now. You guys made some great moves, and we'll talk about the moves that both these teams have made. But from the opening tip off, the expectation, this wasn't just, oh, I hope we get to the finals. No, that was the expectation. The prediction was this is the best starting 5 in the league, the best starting 5 in the Eastern Conference by far, the best team in the Eastern Conference by far. And from that point up until now, they've proven it. And now this is what everybody's looking at. Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. This is your moment to win that championship for the Celtics, to get that banner number 18. This is what they've been talking about for 3 years straight now, since making that finals run in 2022. And so to me, that's the theme. You know, either way, a talented young player is going to get their first championship. Kyrie already has one, of course, but Luca, Brown, and Tatum, it's going to do a lot for whoever wins that championship. It's going to mean a lot for those guys. And so Very interested to see if the Celtics get it done because it's been a long journey for these guys. They haven't even reached 30 yet, and they have a chance to ring number one, and maybe they have a chance to win multiple. We'll see, but that's a storyline that I'm interested in seeing, and definitely following this team closely over the last couple years. Definitely close to that storyline for sure. So let's get into we mentioned the moves that these teams have made, and it's easy to say, see that teams, you make the moves and you want to have that success. It's not that easy. It's about making the right moves, right? Seeing what you have in your current stars and seeing what you may need to amplify the skill sets that they bring and also how they can amplify the skill sets of the guys that you bring in. Case in point with Dallas, a Daniel Gafford, who in Washington showed flashes, but really didn't have a guy like Luka or a guy like Kyrie who can really utilize what he does and being a rim runner. The way that they can just throw those delayed lob passes is one of the most dangerous weapons ever. He didn't have that in Washington, right? And now you see that with Daniel Gafford, a great pickup in the draft with Derek Lively. You trade for a PJ Washington who was in Charlotte. Nobody's thinking about the Charlotte Hornets right now. And so you bring him into a Dallas Mavericks situation where he's thriving in his role as a defender and as a three-point shooter. This is all you have to focus on right now. Master this role. And playing with Luka and Kyrie, you're going to get those opportunities, right? And so you trade a Daniel Gafford in exchange for Rashawn Holmes and a first-round pick this year. You trade a Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first-round pick for PJ Washington. That's Dallas saying, okay, we have a great talent in Luka. We have a great talent in Kyrie. Tomorrow isn't promised. We're not sure if Luka's going to be here for the duration of his career. We got to take advantage of this now. I don't know what the draft pick in 2027 is going to look like, but we've identified two guys that we know can help this team out right now. The Western Conference, really outside of Denver, we feel like we have a chance. It's open, and they made the moves that they had to make, and it's shown itself to be true. Flip side for Boston, 2022, they trade Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a first rounder for Derek White. Now at the time, people are saying maybe Derek White, hey, he was in San Antonio. Not many people are too familiar with what Derek White was about, but I was excited about that deal for Boston because what Derek White showed was the ability to actually be a point guard, lead an offense, show flashes of being able to score. You add him with what you have in Tatum and Brown, that's just icing on the cake, right? Trading away a Marcus Smart to get a Kristaps Porzingis. There are a lot of Celtics fans who were emotional about Marcus Smart, understandably. He was their emotional leader, but to me, I felt like they had stagnated with Marcus Smart as their point guard. I feel like they got as far as they were going to go with Marcus Smart as your point guard. And so the biggest thing for me was, okay, Al Horford is pushing it. He's not in his prime anymore, right? And so getting a Porzingis for the first time ever, Tatum and Brown have a legit versatile big who can actually stretch the floor, who can attack, who could be a presence defensively. He would be the best big that they've had talent-wise in the Brown and Tatum era. And then you added Drew Holiday, who I think is an upgrade from Marcus Smart. He's been there. He's won a championship. I think he's a better overall player than a Marcus Smart. And that's what equates what you have now, the most talented starting five in the NBA. And so kudos to Brad Stevens for making these moves and trading away guys like a Rob Williams, a Marcus Smart, who have been huge for the Celtics, but you got to get better. Like you can't get complacent. And they had to get better and they did it. And so yeah, that's my thoughts on just the moves that these two franchises have made.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. And that just goes to show you like there's talent all over the league, especially when it comes to the moves the Mavericks made. Like PJ Washington was in Charlotte. Charlotte's not a they're not a serious team, you know what I mean? They're just out there having fun balling. Same with the Wizards and Daniel Gafford. Like, and I remember when they made those trades, I was like, you know what, these are good moves for them. Like, I didn't necessarily think like, dang, these moves are going to make them, help them get to the finals, but it definitely put them in a much better position. It added more athleticism, added more defense. Even where did they get Derrick Jones? Derrick Jones wasn't always on the Mavericks.
He
Did
wasn't.
they
He might have
sign
been a
him?
free agent signing, I think.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Moves
Yeah.
like that. And then you talk about Derek Lively. He got drafted to the Thunder,
Mhm.
and the Thunder traded him. And Thunder they've been great building their team, but that's a player that they could have kept and they would have loved to have. You know what I mean? Especially in that series. You know what I mean? So it's great to just see these moves come into fruition and actually work. because we see a lot of teams, especially at the trade deadline, they just make head scratching moves or moves that in their head they're like, yeah, we're going to get this guy and he'll come in and fill the need, but in reality he doesn't. These guys came in immediately, they understood their role, they bought into their role, and you know what I mean. They're out there doing their thing, so it's just awesome to see that. The Drew Holiday move, that was a great move too. Like, I know, like everybody was like, and I was one of them. I'm like, yo, Dame on the Bucks is going to be crazy, but we see it didn't work out that way, because of injury and just because they had a coaching change and it just never worked out right. But Drew is a player that, like, you put him anywhere on any team, he's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to play defense. He's going to facilitate. He's going to score when needed, and he's been huge for them. And I mean, Boston, if we keep it real, they've been dominant all year. They've been dominant all year. They were 64-20. So, what can you say?
And not just making the moves. A lot of these front offices and these GMs and these scouts, they don't have the foresight. A lot of them don't know what they're even looking at when they're scouting these players. So they're making deals, but not even just a clue on the type of talent that they're getting or how to utilize that talent. Right? Case in point, of Brad Stevens sees a Derek White in San Antonio. He says, okay, there's something that we can tap into. Like, you watch a Derek White in San Antonio, you see flashes, you can see, okay, this is how put him in this spot where there's a Tatum, there's a Brown, where we're not putting so much expectations on him as an offensive player. Focus on just being great defensively, which he has been, and also continue to develop and give you confidence to be an offensive threat. And that's what Derek White has been. And, like, I loved watching him in San Antonio. Like, he was a bucket at times too. Like, he had big moments in San Antonio, right? And so you put him in a situation in a system like Boston to continue to grow and evolve with Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, and you see what we have right now. Kudos for Dallas to say we messed up on a Grant Williams situation. I'm gonna just say it right now. When they got Grant Williams, I wasn't buying it. I didn't buy into Grant Williams as this marquee acquisition that's going to take you guys to the top. Seeing him in Boston, look, he's, for what he does, solid player, right? But he's a guy that you can replace. What he brings, you can replace it, right? And so I didn't buy into Dallas early on pre-trade deadline because I didn't like Grant Williams. That's the only move that you think is going to like really set the tone for you guys. It's not going to work. I remember ESPN had their top 100 list. Grant Williams was in it. Derek White wasn't. I laughed at it. Just basketball wise, Derek White's a better player. But speaking about the Mavericks, kudos for them for saying, look, Grant Williams wasn't it. We thought this would help us out drastically. And look, we gotta make a move. We gotta change. It wasn't even a full year before they got rid of Grant Williams, right? So a lot of teams, we speak about holding on too long. Mavericks are the complete opposite. They didn't waste time. They said, look, this isn't gonna work. We found ways to make our team even better, and now you're in the finals. So kudos for them for not holding on too long. Now let's talk about just the conversation of, it's been like, I guess for the last few months, there's been this conversation of face of the league and how, so for some reason, this series between Luka and Tatum is going to determine who's the face of the league. I'll let you talk about it first, but for starters, I don't like that conversation. I don't agree with it. I don't think the winner of this series will determine who the face of the league is, and I'll give you reasons why. But just first off, just your initial thoughts on just this face of the league conversation and the players that they're trying to prop up there and pit against each other. Sort of like, if Tatum wins, he's the face of the league. If Luka wins, he's the face of the league. Your overall thoughts on that conversation?
Well, personally, I don't. It's hard to say who's the face of the league in the NBA right now.
Uh-huh.
Not even talking about the players that's playing in this series, just in general. Because you got somebody like Giannis, he's still one of the faces of the league. Bron, if we want to be honest, Bron is still the face of the league.
Uh-huh.
To me, the face of the league is the most popular, most marketable. It's not always about who's winning the most. But Bron is still the face of the league. He's not even the best player in the league no more than me, but he's still the face. Like, he's still the most popular. You still got Steph, KD, like, and Luka. Luka's in that convo too. And so Tatum could be, for that matter too. If he wins, he could be in the convo. The only thing I don't like all the Tatum hate that's going on. It's a lot of Tatum hate. And I get some of the hate that he warrants. Like, he's done some things that, like, off the court. I'm not even gonna say some things. The only thing he did off the court to me that was real, like, that was corny was the Kobe Bryant message or whatever, and then
Yeah, that
he
was corny.
didn't. Yeah, that was corny.
That was corny.
But other than that, he's a humble player for the most part. Doesn't talk a lot of trash. He's
Mm-hmm.
never got into trouble off the court, and he's been nice since he got to the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also part of the problem. I think that's the gift and the curse with it. He's been so good since he got to the league. It's kind of like you should be the best by now. And we've seen guys like Luka come in and become better than him. But at the end of the day, when you look at the type of player that he is and just what he's been able to do, I don't think the hate is really warranted. Like I hear people say things like, "Oh, he doesn't perform well in the playoffs." Well, that's not true. That's just not true. He didn't play well in his first finals, that's true, right? But he's not the first. He's not the first star to not play well in the finals, and it was his first one. We're talking about somebody he's going through Katie and Kyrie with the Nets. He got them out of here. He has the most points ever in a game 7, 50 points, and that was against our team, the Sixers.
I remember
They
that.
were down 3-2 to the Bucks a couple years back. He dropped 46.
Uh-huh.
Even in this last playoff series against the Pacers, if you ask me, he was Boston's best player overall. Jaylen Brown, he had a 40-point game and somehow won the award over him. But that's, who cares about the Eastern Conference Finals MVP?
Right.
But I just feel like the hate has become kind of too much.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a chance right now to shut all of that up. And I hope he does because I'm a Tatum fan.
Mm-hmm.
But up until now, if you look at the type of career he's had at this age, he's only 26.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the league that hasn't won a ring would kill for this type of career he's had so far. So I don't, especially at 26, I don't know where the hate is from. I really don't. Yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, the Tatum thing is interesting. I feel like I know where it's from. I think that people want to, God bless you. People want to, they want to make Tatum into something that he's not, instead of appreciating for who he is. And so, case in point, his teammate Jaylen Brown is the total opposite as far as play. He's aggressive. Like you can sense the energy at times from a Jaylen Brown, whereas Tatum's more um, he's more cerebral with his. He's not attacking as much or as strong as a Jaylen Brown would at times, and so pitting those two against each other, which is annoying in itself. I think that's something that sparks that conversation. Um, and so for me, Jason Tatum is a great talent, and what he's accomplished at this point in his career has been has been amazing. And his resume already, if he keeps this up, is going to be an all-time resume, Hall of Fame resume. And so I think people want Tatum to be something that he's not. Right? That's just what it comes down to. For me, I can appreciate someone's game, but also like others, I can like another person's game over another, right? Like I feel like there's room to appreciate a person's game, but not be a. I like Luka's game over a lot of people's games, and Tatum's included. I like SGA's game over a lot of people, Tatum's included. There's a lot of players that I like. I love Ja's game. I love Steph's game. I love Jokic's game. I love Embiid's game. There's a lot of guys that I hold to a higher level of appreciation. Um, but I can also compliment a Tatum and a Jaylen Brown, and I don't have to prop up a Luka or an SGA and tear down a Tatum. That's where, for me, it's like, all right, there's room for both. You can appreciate what these guys are doing, but also appreciate what Tatum has done in his career. You know what I mean? And so for me, this face of the league, this top five conversation. At this point, it comes down to preference because, as you said, LeBron is still in the league. To me, Steph and LeBron are still. When we say face of the league, it's about who. I walk down this street and I ask, who do you recognize between these two players? Who do they pick? They're going to pick LeBron out of anybody else in the league, and Steph Curry too, more often than not, right? And to me, those are the face of the league, the facial recognition. At this point, people aren't recognizing globally Anthony Edwards right now. I don't feel like compared to a LeBron. It's getting there with Adidas and how they're marketing him. Same with Tatum. Same with an SGA. Like these guys are getting there, but LeBron and stuff are still in this league. Giannis is still in his prime. Jokic is still in his prime. So there are a lot of names that you got to leap over before we have that conversation. And for me, honestly, the face of the league conversation is ridiculous because it's always happened organically. Like the best player in the league is going to show itself. It did with MJ, like you know what I mean. Like it did with Magic and Bird. It did with Wilt. It did with Russell. It did with Kareem. Like these guys are going to reveal themselves in due time. And usually the best player in the league is going to be winning championships year after year after year. If we trace it back, the best players in the league are running this league in June. They're playing. Jokic did it last year. They didn't make it back this year. We're in a time where there's no dynasty right now. That's just what it is. And I don't see that changing for the next few years until I feel like the Spurs have a chance to do that with Wemby and how they add to him. I think Wemby, honestly, I think Wemby has a chance to be the best player in the league. Now, will his game sell? I don't know yet because he's a big guy. It's a different conversation with bigs and smaller players as well. And so for me, I think it's a fun time because there's a lot of guys, a lot of talented young guys who have a chance um, to prove themselves. It's about winning championships. You can't. It's not about one-offs. The best player in the league is not into one-offs. You're not going to win a championship and then next June you're not here anymore. So if Tatum wins it this year, if Luka wins it this year, okay, what do you do next year? And the year after that, you got to sustain. Kobe did it. Shaq did it. LeBron did it. Steph did it. MJ did it. Bird did it. Magic did it. Kareem did it. Like that's what it comes down to. And so I feel like they're forcing the conversation where really there is no conversation. These are a lot of young guys. We're in a golden age as far as just these talented players and these guards. Like the Ant-Man conversation and the MJ conversation to me was foolish and it was predictable on how it ended. They hyped the Timberwolves up. They crowned them too soon. Like they do everything only to tear them down. And I'm excited to see what Ja Morant does because everybody has amnesia on what Ja's about and forgot what Ja's doing marketability wise and what Ja's signature shoe is doing out there. Like people aren't outside and seeing what Ja means to a young player and the impact that he has for younger players. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot to be settled. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to be back. Wemby is here. Like there's a lot to be settled. And so the face of the league conversation is tiring. You can have your favorite players and your preference of style of play, but the best player is going to reveal itself. Now, who's the best player right now? Honestly, to me, even that's a solid debate because usually the best player conversation is set in stone. Like, oh, it's LeBron, it's Mike. Like now, it's like if you say Joker, I'm like, okay. If you say Luca, I can't say you're wrong. A healthy Giannis, locked in Giannis, like okay. And so to me, I I flip flop between Luca and Joker as far as best player in the league right now. You know, as far as when they're at their best, locked in, who is really getting their games off no matter what the defense does. Those are the two guys I look at. Yeah.
Yeah, if we're going off of just currently right now, Luca's the best. He's playing the best in the league, but like you said, the best player is usually winning multiple chips, right? And then we have to have this conversation. If the Celtics go out there and they beat the Mavs and Tatum plays good enough to get Finals MVP, there has to be a conversation there too.
Mm.
Because like we said, we talked about the resume. And if you look at Tatum's game, there's no flaw in Tatum's game at all. You just have a gripe with the fact that though we have a gripe that Tatum isn't as aggressive as we want him to be.
Mm.
That's the gripe that we have with Tatum. But when we're looking at all of these players that we talk about right now, all of them have flaws. To be honest, Luca is not a great defender. Giannis isn't a great shooter. Like Embiid can't stay healthy, and we see how he acts in the playoffs sometimes. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's really no set best player, and I've been saying that for like the past couple of years now. It's just really depending on who you prefer and who you think is killing it right now. Right now, I'm going with Luca just because
Mm.
just how he's been playing. But if we're being real, a couple bounces goes OKC way. OKC is in the conference finals. Like they were there with them. You know what I mean? It's not like Luka's just dominating, straight killing. It's not like the Mavericks are straight killing everybody. I mean, they got the Timberwolves out of here, but that's a whole nother story. But
Mm.
I don't know. It's just kind of stupid. I think we should just enjoy what's going on right now in the league. Like, it's so much talent, and I think that's the main thing. Like, you got guys like Devin Booker right now. He's not getting no talk, but just last year and the year before, when they went to the finals, Devin Booker was getting talk about being in the mix. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's just so up and down, so iffy. But you just got to look at these player games and watch the game, and you just know like what's really going on.
The cycle happens fast though. A guy like Devin Booker, he gets pushed aside quickly.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like a guy like Zion, so much hype coming out of Duke. Look, Zion's an afterthought now, right? Look how fast they turned on Ja. Like Ja was just like number one guy on Nike, signature shoe, killing out here. The game to match it. Like he was it. And then what happens? Ant Man's up. Like pay attention to how they treat Ant Man, right? If Minnesota doesn't make the finals in the next couple years, I promise you they're gonna give the Zion and the Ja treatment and the Booker treatment. I promise you that. It never fails. You know what I mean? And so that's why this conversation is tiring because it's gonna reveal itself in due time. It may take a few years before that person provides that consistent winning. Like I said, I'm really high on Wimby. Like I can't say it enough. If San Antonio does it right, that could be something crazy. As long as he stays healthy and gets stronger, like what he's been able to do rookie year without any help. They had Jeremy Sohan playing point guard. It's crazy. You know what I mean? Like if you get him a competent point guard and nice supporting cast around him, the Spurs will be dangerous. And so I feel like over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll see we'll see how things shake out. But as of now, let's just enjoy this young talent that's out here. You know what I mean? Luka, Tatum, Kyrie, Jalen Brown. Like, I mean, yeah. Enough of these narratives. It's tired. It's tired. So now let's talk about this series now. You know, we talk about the narratives and the storylines. Let's talk about this matchup. Kristaps Porzingis has been out. He's expected to play on Thursday. For me, that's the key. Like, especially with Dallas having a Derek Lively and a Daniel Gafford and their presence offensively as far as with the lob pass and being able to finish. And also offensively for Porzingis being able to stretch the floor and testing out the Mavericks defense. Porzingis is going to be important. For Boston, if you've watched them, they fall in love with the three-pointer. We know that. But for me, I want to see them go at Kyrie and Luka, test them out defensively a little bit. You know what I mean? I want to I want to see whenever they get that switch because they have multiple guys that can do it. They have a Drew Holiday, a Derek White that can attack, a Tatum, a Brown, obviously. Whenever you get that switch on Kyrie and Luka, test them out and force the other guys to help. You got guys that can shoot it, and so to me, it's just going to be a chess match. It's going to be a series of adjustments. I'm excited, but for me, Porzingis' health, and also for the Celtics, Derek White and Drew Holiday can have a huge impact. I think defensively, obviously, but offensively, if they can really be a presence out there, because one thing that Boston has that Minnesota didn't have against Dallas is multiple creators off the bounce. To me, that was the one issue that I had with Minnesota outside of Ant-Man. Who else is putting pressure on that defense? And so for Boston, that's the key. And for Dallas, PJ and Derek Jones, can they continue to knock down timely shots? Because you know what Luka and Kyrie are going to give you. But those other guys, can they knock down those shots? And the NBA Finals is a different level, different pressure, different attention. How do they step up and rise to that occasion? That's my gauge on the series.
Yeah. Another thing that's going to decide this series is Porzingis. You touched on it a little bit, but we need to see how effective he's going to be. So I know he has like an ankle injury, but we need Porzingis. Like if the Celtics are going to win, they need him to be really locked in defensively, especially because the Mavericks they were able to expose the bigs of the Timberwolves. On defense, they were able to expose them. Porzingis, he has to be able to be more disciplined. Not get in foul trouble. He can't get beat for these backdoor lobs. And on offense, he has to be able to stretch the floor. We know he's going to shoot the three. He has to make them. That's going to be the key because if they're able to draw the bigs out of the paint on the Mavericks, it's going to be a long series for the Mavericks. It's going to be a long series for them because that paint. We talked about how Jaylen Brown likes to attack. He's going to be attacking, and we might even see Tatum attack more if he sees no big down there.
He
You know
might
what I
have to.
mean?
He has
He's
to.
gonna have to, and then even the Derek White can get down there. So and then the only gripe we talk about it all the time is just Boston plays so stupid. You know what I mean? Like and it's crazy because they be able to win just off of their talent, but they have to really be smart this playoff series because they're playing against two of the best closers in the league. Like, yeah, you gonna want to go into the fourth quarter only up three, down three. You know what I mean? They got some momentum. You want to be dominating all game and be able to put the nail in the coffin. And in the finals, you got to grind it out. You know what I mean? I'm not too much worried about them on defense. They're going to be good defensively, but it's just the little things, turnovers, taking unnecessary threes. Um, it's just the little things. Like on paper, they should win this. You know what I mean? And they're going to make Luka play day. They're going to have to. Luka can't hide in the corner against Jalen McDaniels. You know what I mean? Because all of the guards and forwards for the Celtics can score and put the ball on the floor and create for themselves. You know what I mean? So I'm curious as to see who they're going to put him on, who they're going to leave him on. And I'm curious to see who's actually going to guard Luka. Are they going to start out with Drew? Will Tatum guard him? Will Jalen Brown guard him? And then who guards Kyrie? So
Yeah.
it's just a lot of question marks all over the place.
From what I remember, it was a lot of Jalen. I feel like Jalen's going to get a lot of the assignment on Luka, but the beauty of their lineup is they have three other guys that are more than capable. You can give them different looks.
Right.
You know, Drew's a pretty. I mean, I have the height as Luka, but he's pretty. He's pretty sturdy. He's pretty strong. You know, Derek White can add something to it, and Tatum can defend him obviously. And so the biggest thing is not getting into foul trouble because we know how Luka can sort of manipulate the defense, and just before you know it, you got two fouls. And the one thing the Boston Celtics do not want to do is go to their bench because that's the one thing that has been their Achilles heel. Peyton Pritchard, outside of him, Sam Hauser has not been able to find his shot in these playoffs. They don't go too deep off the bench, right? And so, at least with Dallas, they have a Hardy off the bench, guys that can sort of bring energy. Lively comes off the bench, right? And so, with Boston not getting into foul trouble for your main guys, but also just finding those moments to be aggressive and attack and not settle for the 3-point shot, which that has been their weakness and my main issue with what they've done. But if the Celtics are hitting though, like it's just if their shots are on point, it's nothing that the Mavericks can do because they play five out and you're gonna have to defend. You got to make a decision, right? And every single one of those guys are comfortable with the ball in their hands. We can't say the same about Minnesota, right? Um, Rudy Gobert obviously is not stretching the floor. Cat is a threat. Ant was a threat. Jaden and Conley are threats to sort of spot up, but as far as actually attacking, no. What Boston presents is versatility on both ends of the floor, and that's the genius of what Brad Stevens has done to put this team together. To really, he has the this is the perfect modern day roster for today's NBA. Honestly, you know, I look at them, I look at OKC, a few other teams, but this roster is perfect for what today's game is the positionless basketball, spacing the floor out, 3-point shots. Like this is the roster, and so I'm going to pick now without even knowing the health of Porzingis. I'm going to assume Porzingis, from what I've read and seen, he's been doing well in practice. He's been doing full practices with the team. He said today he's ready to go. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But you never know with that injury. It's a calf injury, so you got to be careful with that one. He hasn't played since the first round. Will there be rust offensively? We'll see. You know, Dallas is going to try him and attack him and see how he is. But as of now, I'm going to go Celtics in 6. I'm going to say Celtics in 6 right now.
That's funny. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm going Celtics in 6. I just think they're just better than the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
But the Mavericks have the two best closers on that court.
Lethal.
And when those two are hot and cooking, it's hard, man. And I've been saying that. It's hard. It could be anybody. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to count them out. That's just my prediction. I'm going with Celtics in 6.
Late
I
game situation is I got to go with Dallas. If these games are close, I got to side with Dallas because I
Yeah,
trust Luka and Kyrie to get to their spots. With Boston, it's too indecisive. You don't know what are they going to set up for a 3-point shot? Are they going to attack? Luka and Kai, I'm gonna get to my spot. There's nothing you can do.
right. But I also think this is just Boston's time now. If not now, then when? Like
Yeah,
they
this is
made
the
it to the
perfect
finals
time.
before. There's a second go around. We seen what happened when they played the Warriors, but the Warriors they were just a well equipped
Yeah,
team or veteran team. And
Boston
then
wasn't ready.
That was Steph's year to like prove
Yeah,
like, yo, I can really lead a team. Like, no, like we see him lead a team, but in the finals, like really stamp his mark on a series in the finals, and he did it. Now this is Boston's time. It's Tatum's time. It's Brown's time to do that. You know what I mean? Drew, he's won a chip before. You know what I mean? So I just and Derek White, like he's been hungry all year. You can see it.
yeah, yeah. Of course,
So
this is a
and
better
they
team than the 2 years ago. This is a better
yeah,
stuff.
and they've been dominant all year. Like people can talk about the run in the East, and it's true. They didn't have the toughest road in the East, but they took care of business too. Like how many times have we seen teams play with their food?
Mm-hmm.
And in the games, you could say, yeah, Boston's playing with their food, but in reality, like the Pacers on paper, they're not that great, but it's the way they play. Like
They were
the
hooping.
way they play, they're hard to defend. Like a lot of players have said this, because they're not like running set plays. They're not too predictable. If you score, guess what? We're getting the ball out. We up the court. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. Mavs don't play with that same pace.
Yeah, I
So
don't. Yeah, that narrative about the Celtics playing in the weak East, like you can't criticize a team for doing what they were supposed to do, and they did it. Like you can't criticize them on
and they ended
paper.
up winning all the games they were supposed to win pretty much. Like I don't, you know
On
what I mean?
paper,
They're
who's the
well
better team?
rested.
You know what I mean? They're the better team talent wise, top to bottom.
Right.
Like their starting five is just Dallas is not. You know what I mean? So this will be the coaching matchup is interesting too between Jason Kidd and Joe Mazzulla. That'll be interesting. This is a chance because Joe Mazzulla had a lot of criticism last year, and deservedly
Right.
so at times, right? And so this is a chance for him to show how much he's grown from year one. And I'm interested to see just the chess match in the playoff series, right? Game one is going to be very interesting. You can learn a lot from that first. I think we'll learn a lot from that first game, specifically when it comes to Porzingis and his health and how he's utilized and how Dallas attacks him. But Celtics in six, I'm pretty confident in that one. Would it shock me that if it win a game seven? No, but I feel like I feel like this talent wise and just the experience as we've been talking about, I think this is their moment and they'll get it done. Celtics in six.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. I just want to see good basketball, regardless. End of the day, like, cause seeing Boston, they ran through the East, so now it's time to see. All right, we're really battle tested now. Let's see what happens. I can't wait. I wish it could come sooner. I hate that we had to wait
On a long break.
this long break, like even longer for Boston. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Game one, they gotta come out with some energy. Like, I know it's been a long break, but it's the finals. Like, it's time to turn it up. Like, they need to come out here hitting y'all shots, playing D, and really sending a message because Luka's coming. Luka and Kyrie, Kyrie's coming.
Oh no,
Luka's coming
Kai
too.
is
Like,
ready.
they coming, man. They coming to kill. So they gotta come in there and lock in. Like, it's gonna get real.
Kai is ready. The NBA, shout out to the NBA though. It's smart. I mean, if they had it their way, they would own the entire month of June. That means game seven. Game seven, so game one is Thursday the 6th. Game seven would be on a Sunday, the 23rd.
That's
So
crazy.
that's the entire month of June if it goes the distance because they have the 6th, the 9th, the 12th, the 14th, the 17th, the 20th. So they the series is stretching out. You know what I mean? And so that would be a fun month for basketball fans if we got a 7 game series. I don't think it'll get to that. I think they can take care of that. I think Boston takes care of it in 6, which would mean 2, 3, 4, 5. They would win the championship in Dallas. I'm sure Celtics fans would hope for celebrating on their home floor, which would mean a win in Game 5 in Boston. But we'll see. Celtics in 6. We both agree on that. So we'll be back next week. We'll see how these first couple games go. Game 2 would be on Sunday, and then game 3 and 4 in Dallas next Wednesday and Friday. So we'll see. We'll see if this will be a 2-0 series lead for either team or tied at 1-1. Either way, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I'm excited to see that. Plus, we got the NBA draft coming up too in a couple of weeks. A lot to say on that one as well. A lot of rumors, a lot of mocks coming out. saying it's a weak draft class. We'll dive more into that topic as well. But still a lot of hoops to talk about. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget Apple Podcasts. Check us out on YouTube as well. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week.
Peace out.
All right, bet.